Henry's Barber Shop has been on Main Street in Antigonish for 80 years. Henry Sullivan has been gone for a long time, but his son Blaze has been running the shop for over 35 years. He's cut a lot of hair and talked a lot of politics with clients.
Yeah, there is actually a fair bit of talk about it, but there's no real defined person that seems to stand out that everybody is going for. It's just, if you do this, you do that, and you're kind of mixed up. You don't know which way to turn.
So it's not like in the days of Peter MacKay, where pretty much everybody voted for MacKay no matter what.
It's just everybody seems to be, one fellow says one thing, one fellow says the other, and there's no real man that's standing out. In my opinion, that's what one of my feelings is about it. Yeah.
There's an old divide in Nova Scotia politics, which was based on religion. Protestants tended to support the Conservative Party, Catholics the Liberal Party, and that kind of shaped family and community tradition. Pictou County is about 65% Protestant. Not that religion plays any role in politics any longer in a direct way, but it did shape a community tradition of voting Conservative, and I think that that's part of the explanation for the long dominance of the Conservatives there.
So politically, that's been voting Conservative almost forever?
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, in more contemporary times. The MacKays, Elmer the father, Peter the son, have been representing Central Nova Scotia for 40-odd years, 41 years, something like that, with just one brief stint in 1993 when the Conservatives lost every seat but two in the country, and they lost in Pictou too, and Roseanne Skoke was the MP for that one brief stint, but otherwise it's been Conservative. Provincially, all three provincial seats are Conservative at the moment as well.
At the Pictou County Wellness Center in New Glasgow, the East Hants Adam A's are thumping the home team. With all these parents in the stands, it's a good place to campaign.
How are you doing today?
Good.
You're good. Fred Delory.
Chris Pitts.
Hi, Chris. I'm a Conservative candidate here in Central Nova.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
2. Here's my other one.
2? Oh, great.
Yeah, that's Charlie.
Awesome. So you guys get our universal child care benefit checks?
Yes.
Excellent. And they're helping out?
Oh, extra money's great anytime, right?
Yeah, that's, we're big believers in putting monies back into the pockets of parents, right? They know how to make the best decisions for their kids. We also just doubled our child fitness tax credit. So there's so now you can claim up to $1,000 for things like this.
We're active all year round with hockey, baseball, soccer, everything, right? So it's I strongly believe in keeping your kids busy and keeping them in sports and things like that. So absolutely, it's a big help.
Yeah.
Fred Delory has had basically a career in politics. He's worked in Ottawa. He's worked for the Conservative Party in a number of different capacities. So he's a career politician in a way, much like Stephen Harper, who himself was a career politician. He never really had much of a job outside of politics either. You could say that a bit about Peter. Peter was pretty young when he took over as MP. I think he was 31 or something like that. Brief stint as a Crown attorney, but you know, these are people who have politics as a vocation, and Fred falls into that category.
I'm Sean Fraser, your Liberal candidate for Central Nova. I want to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. For many of us, there are going to be a few empty seats around the dinner table this weekend because our friends and family members have left for work.
Like the Conservative candidate, Liberal Sean Fraser grew up in Central Nova and has come home to run in this election.
Sean Fraser's had an interesting background. He has a link to this university. He's a former student union president at St. Francis Xavier University. He became a lawyer, became an international human rights lawyer, worked for a time in South Africa in that capacity. So he got some international experience in that sense, I think, which is good preparation for politics. Young, dynamic, articulate, as you would expect, with that kind of educational background. Bit of charisma, perhaps. So he's a good candidate for the Liberal Party.
You know, up until a few days ago, it was very clear that anyone could win.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so every vote actually counts for a change.
Yeah.
You know,
And in this riding, too.
yeah, and
It's,
and strangely enough, even here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this was sort of like, you know, safe Tory land, and now anything could happen.
That's right. We're doing our best to shake that much up.
The Liberal Party has a plan to create jobs, invest in our communities, and help people who are struggling. I'm Sean Fraser, and I ask for your support on October 19th so we can bring real change to Central Nova.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
fun.
no, I think it's fine.
This is such an honor, and it was an honor at the time to be involved in the story of Viola Desmond and the journey of what brings us here today.
Ross Landry is the most experienced politician running in Central Nova. He served as Attorney General and Justice Minister in the provincial NDP government of Darrell Dexter. During that time, he was responsible for acquiring a pardon for Viola Desmond, a black Nova Scotian who challenged segregation in 1946. Today, a plaque is being dedicated in her memory. The Roseland is a newly renovated cabaret in New Glasgow, but on November 8, 1946, it was a movie theater. Viola Desmond was a successful businesswoman, and while her car was being repaired, she decided to see a movie. She bought a ticket for the main floor and took her seat. When she was told blacks weren't allowed on the main level, she refused to sit in the balcony. She was arrested, spent the night in jail, and was fined what today would be $270. Desmond died in 1965, and in 2010 was granted the first ever free pardon given posthumously in Canada.
There are a few things in one's career and one's life that you have an opportunity to do something and to have an influence on some event in your life. This, without a doubt, is one of the most memorable and honored opportunities for me to be a part of. And to the community, when we gave the apology, it was heartfelt and meaningful that it needed to be done. It needed to be done not only to the community, the African Nova Scotia community, to the people of New Glasgow, but to Nova Scotians overall, and to say that we're moving forward in the way that we interact and the way that we live in harmony with each other and in peace.
Clearly the most well-known of the three major parties, because, of course, he was a cabinet minister in the recent NDP government, the Dexter government in Nova Scotia. He was Attorney General and Justice Minister, so he has a very well-known background, well-known in the riding, perhaps carries with him some political baggage, which probably won't help him. The Dexter government, although it served one term only, which is unusual in Nova Scotia politics, they had 3 provincial seats in Pictou, the NDP. They lost all of them in the last provincial election. And I would say that Landry a bit has to run against his time as a cabinet minister.
David Hatche followed a rather circuitous route to become the Green Party candidate. He was born in New Brunswick, studied economics at Harvard, and traded equities on Wall Street for 10 years.
So what led you from Wall Street to here with the sheep to running in a federal election?
Well, it's the life is a bit of a winding road sometimes, and I guess I'm always just looking to learn and looking to be involved and trying to make a difference. And you know, I felt as though when I moved early, I joined. You know, I became involved in some community groups, whether it was arts organizations or conservation organizations. You know, I really became involved and, you know, was working to make a difference. I became very interested in rural revitalization. I attended the Georgetown conference in PEI a couple of years ago, which was a real pivotal experience. I just felt like a lot of the problems were starting at the top. The more I was trying to make a difference locally, but watching what was happening on a national basis, I really thought that the systems were broken. And it's hard to function, you know, and live a deliberate life in a system that isn't supporting, you know, the small business, for instance, and supporting small farmers, and, you know, supporting the kind of Canada that I always was proud to be from. And when I sort of realized that maybe I could make a difference at the federal level and, you know, raise some issues and change the dialogue, it was really an opportunity that I was happy to take, and it's been an incredible experience.
Not what you would expect from a Green Party candidate. sort of in the international financial sector, as a trader, Wall Street, in London. Not really your image of what a Green candidate should be, but that's something about the Green Party. It attracts a lot of different kind of people, and David Hatchie is in that category. He has come back, lives in Pictou County now. He lives on a farm in Pictou County, and he's changed his lifestyle. And he's representing the Green Party very well in this election, I would say. And you see a lot of signs for David Hatchie, at least in Antigonish County. He did well in the candidates debate here, which, by the way, was played to a packed house in the Keating Center here on campus. People were listening carefully. He performed very well. So I think he will hold whatever support the Greens have. And of course, it's difficult for the Greens in a polarized political environment that we have now. People are going to vote strategically. Those who aren't conservative supporters are going to think carefully about what do I need to do to change the government. And that's always a disadvantage for the Greens. If it appears they're not going to make a breakthrough in this riding, it'll be hard for him to pull in additional votes.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels.
By far the most colorful candidate in Central Nova is independent Alexander Mackenzie. He runs his own concrete business and builds boats like this pirate ship as a hobby.
She's a pretty little ship.
In the summer, he takes tourists sailing for free in Pictou Harbor. For years, Mackenzie raised concerns about the damage being done by effluent from the pulp mill on the edge of Pictou. In 1993, when the government finally agreed to compensate residents for all the pollution, the entire $35 million went to Pictou Landing First Nation.
No explanation of how it could be that that pollution that treated everybody equal. How is it that our government, our Canadian government of all the people, could divide us and provide compensation depending on what race you are? That's unacceptable to me. I just will not accept it.
In protest, Mackenzie started stealing ballot boxes during 4 separate federal elections, earning him the moniker the Ballot Box Bandit. He's been fined, given house arrest, and jailed.
So this time around, you've decided to take a different approach. You're actually running in the election. Why did you decide to do that?
Change my tactics. That's all. Taking one box at a time just wasn't making the effect that I was trying to make. So I said, should I find the mother lode and take a whole truckload of them before they get to the poll, or do I put my name in the ballot? And every person who, like a radical type of thing, should reach a point where it's crap or get off the pot. Like if you can't get people to do it, you should do it yourself. And that's the kind of guy I am. So I put my name on the ballot. Here's a change, a real change. People cry they want change. So do you want the same old, or do you want an independent that will represent you when you vote for them as opposed to representing their party?
Given the population and economic decline that has been occurring in rural Central Nova, what specifically will you do to stabilize and grow the rural economy in Central Nova?
That was one of the key questions put to candidates at a debate held in Middle Musquodoboit. All were there except for the Conservative candidate.
We are facing a crisis in rural Nova Scotia and, in fact, across the Maritime provinces. Our young people and families are leaving, and formally, leaving for work was never a new thing for the Maritimes, but people had the opportunity to come back. The opportunities to come back are few and far between these days. Now is the time to make an investment in our communities that's going to provide jobs for people. We have a tremendous opportunity when I look at the downturn in the Western Canadian economy. We have a trained workforce who is from the East Coast that wants to come back more than anything. These are welders, electricians, carpenters who have 5 to 15 years experience that would like to be here. The Liberal Party plans on making the largest investment in infrastructure in Canada's history. This is going to create opportunities for those welders and electricians and carpenters, but it's also going to create spin-off benefits for accountants that pick up work on the projects, for people who own shops and restaurants where the workers need to grab a bite to eat or buy something to take home. The spin-off is obvious, but it's also providing us with things that our communities need, like nursing homes or affordable housing units or recreational properties. The time is now to make this investment.
In the rural areas, we need to ensure that we protect our fisheries, our forestry, and our farming, and our small business. So by lowering small business tax, by conducting research and ensuring there's an integrity in science to improve where there's climate change that's occurring, that we have a clear vision of where we're going and how we're going to get there. Something as simple as $15 a day childcare will allow young families to be able to go out and work or run businesses, and knowing that their children are cared for and have a good quality standard and they can afford that area. By taking the subsidies away from carbon industries and taking those dollars and putting it back into a green technology, into a green environment, will help stimulate opportunities in our rural areas and put young people there.
Green technology is the wave of the future, and it's an opportunity that is passing us by. It's the opportunity of our generation. We've got to get off of dirty oil. We've got to stop subsidizing oil companies and get some of those jobs that are out west currently back here in Nova Scotia, working on renewable energy and sustainable solutions to our energy crisis. The fact that we don't have a price on carbon is a significant issue, and it's not a job-killing carbon tax, as Fred would have you believe. It's an opportunity to build tidal turbines here. It's an opportunity to put residential solar panels on people's homes. It's an opportunity to plug the energy-wasting, leaky buildings of both our homes and our government buildings. And furthermore, a green tech commercialization fund would be established to try and make businesses out of this new green technology, businesses that can export things. There's 150 jobs in Pictou right now building tidal turbines, and that's just a test turbine. There's the potential for 2,500 megawatts of tidal energy in the Bay of Fundy, which is a massive opportunity.
So what's the strategy for creating long-term jobs in a riding like this?
Well, again, it goes back to infrastructure spending, but also working with small businesses and making sure that they have what they need. A lot of it's trying to find ways for the government to get out of their way. We need to reduce more red tape for small businesses. We're going to lower the small business tax rate. We're going to lower payroll taxes, and we're going to lower EI premiums that they have to pay. Moves like that will help put money back into these businesses where they can invest it in their workers and in their products and further create jobs. The other parties want to do is they want to raise payroll taxes. They want to raise EI premiums, which does not help small business. It stunts their growth, and we can't allow that to happen. It would be detrimental to rural communities like this one.
We all know that they have very demanding schedules, and for them to make this a priority, I think we can be very grateful. But it is an important debate, and it's really important for us to hear their views.
A recent report identified Nova Scotia as having the highest level of food insecurity in Canada. People are going hungry because they can't afford the food they need. So the Antigonish Food Security Association invited the Central Nova candidates to talk about what can be done to address this issue.
At its base, most of the food security issues facing Central Nova are generally poverty-related. And that's an issue that hasn't been adequately addressed, I don't think, from a federal perspective. And the Green Party's proposal in that respect is one that I think restores fundamental dignity and opportunity to all people, and makes sure that they don't get left behind. And it's a solution that's been working elsewhere. And it has come time to explore to creating a guaranteed livable income for all Canadians. Now, this would be a program. Now, this would replace the current mismatch of social support systems that create a perverse set of incentives, and it would make sure that children didn't go hungry. It would make sure that the next generation didn't get trapped in the same cycle of poverty that their parents are currently struggling with. So, it's really time to explore the guaranteed livable income.
So what can we actually do here? We can focus on reducing poverty, and I am about to run out of time, by creating jobs and investing in projects that our community need. We can reduce poverty by bumping up the amount that families who are struggling need for childcare. If you have a little extra money in your pocket at the end of the day, you might not be shopping for frozen food at Sobeys, but might be choosing something that's more nutritious. When you're eating more nutritious food, there's a benefit to the healthcare system as well, because the cost of healthcare reduces when we're focused on eating local nutritious food. In addition, we should be protecting our supply management system. I am out of time here, but it is a model that we can use to encourage local farmers to get into the agriculture industry, increase local production so we can rely on ourselves and boost our economy and our health.
Having food is not a privilege, it's a right. To have good quality, clean, accessible food. I'm so excited that when during this campaign and going around and visiting the different markets and seeing the potential that's here in this region alone. Each place has their own little market. And each of those markets, there's some unique characters and people with products that are very nice. The cost becomes a barrier to many people getting there. So we have to make food affordable. It's also, when we look at our rural communities and how do we sustain the rural community and bring life back into it, it's in this niche type of market. If we can bring more immigration into the community, we can expand the volume of people that can come in and help sustain rather than having a depopulation within our rural areas. In 2011, the Harper government had promised a food strategy. We're still waiting for that strategy. The NDP has a very clear and blueprint plan that I encourage you to take a look at.
Food security is also a facet of poverty, and it's something that we need to continue to work on and continue to address. Since we formed government in 2006, I believe it's 220,000 children have come off the poverty rolls. Since the recession of 2008, over 180,000 people or children have come off poverty. And UNICEF has said in a report that a big part of that was our lowering the tax burden and giving tax credit and tax money and putting money back into people's pockets, such as the Universal Child Care Benefit, which gives $2,000 a year for children under 6 and $720 a year for children 6 to 17. Those type of initiatives, lowering the tax burden, is putting money back in people's pockets to help lower poverty in this country. And those are the type of initiatives that we have to continue as well.
It's a very close race between the Liberals and the Conservatives.
Back at Henry's barber shop, they're still talking politics.
A lot of people this time around are willing to sort of hold their nose and vote for their second choice if their first choice doesn't have a chance, because they definitely don't want want the Conservatives to get back in.
There are some real problems with our electoral system. Justin Trudeau's come out strongly and said this election will be the last under our current first-past-the-post system. We're in need of reform, whether it's a proportional representation system or a preferential ballot. Both have their benefits, both have their drawbacks. Both are probably better than what we're doing now. We need to look into which type of electoral reform we want to achieve and implement it for our next election. Unfortunately, for this election, we're stuck with the rules that we have. And when I look at where we stand and the momentum that our party has in this riding, in this election, I know that we have the best chance to beat Stephen Harper. I know that we can make a difference.
Einstein said it best. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, and expecting a different result, it's the definition of insanity. It's time for change, for real change. In the last election, I think that figures where the NDP came first in 103 seats, second in 121. The Liberals were 36. They came first in 76. They came second. They'd have to get over 100 and some seats to defeat Mr. Harper. And the NDP is the best chance of making that difference because we need less than half of that to do that.
If you do not vote for who you think would best represent you, then you do not deserve the best representation. That's my answer. You should vote, everybody should vote for who they think would best represent them. And it's an affront to democracy to do otherwise. To vote just to get rid of somebody you don't like is not a good plan. I don't think so.
Winning was always the goal, but was always a long shot. And when Peter MacKay announced he wasn't running, it's certainly felt as though there were some doors opening, but the Conservative base is still strong here, and the more progressive voters are very concerned about the fact that it seems to be, the Conservatives are still polling strongly here. So it's hard to convince people to tick the green box on voting day, on election day. But I think I've really influenced the dialogue this campaign and this election, and I've been so warmly received. I mean, the supporters come out after every public appearance and wish me well and tell me how much they agree with what I'm saying, and they really support me. But I'm not sure that that's going to translate into the success it should on October 19th.
This riding has a long history of electing a Conservative. Some would say it's been more a McKay riding than it has been a Conservative riding. How have the McKays factored into your campaign? Have they been actively working with you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, both Elmer and Peter have been very, very helpful, and they've always been mentors. I mean, it's been... do you want to do this question over in a second?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is right there.
I just asked a question about Peter McKay and who shows up. Oh. Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, Fred. Good to see you, pal.
Good to see you.
Everything's good?
Yes, going very well. Yeah. We're door knocking in Stellarton today. Great response. Yeah, it's very good.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
So you're going up to the volunteer firefighters?
Yes, we're going to head there after this.
So I was just asking him how active you and or your dad have been in the campaign and that you're working.
Well, as active as he wants me to be. I mean, I'm very supportive of Fred. I've known him a long time, and he's working really hard. This is a constituency, as you're probably aware, that's so large and diverse, and it just requires tremendous effort to get around and to see people and to address the issues. And the issues are big, but they're employment, they're the economy, they're working people, trying to make ends meet, and we've got a pretty good agenda to present to them.
It's a very interesting race here. Of course, there's that residue of support for the Conservative Party after such a long time of being dominant. A lot of people used to voting Conservative, so this is a big change for them. They have to really look closely now at what they should do this time around, and that's made it a competitive race for sure. I mean, everyone agrees if Peter had run again, it would have been open and shut case. But certainly this opened the door to the other parties. And within the region, within Atlantic Canada, as all the polls have indicated now for a couple of years actually, the Conservatives are probably in for a thrashing in this election. They might hold on to a small number of seats, but they're going to lose most of what they hold now in Atlantic Canada. Central Nova might be their one hope in Nova Scotia, I would say. This is their best hope of holding on to a seat in Nova Scotia is Central Nova, but it is a close run thing right now.